Have you ever stopped and wondered what Red Dead Redemption 3 could actually look like? Because honestly, Red Dead Redemption 2 is still my favorite game of all time, and I really hope Rockstar continues the franchise. But the biggest question is, where does the story go from here? Do they make a sequel? Do they go even further back with another prequel? Or do they introduce an entirely new protagonist? Today, we're going to look at 4 possible directions Rockstar could take for Red Dead Redemption 3, and some of these ideas could completely change the future of the series. Let's get straight into it. First up, Jack Marston. Jack seems like the most obvious choice. By the end of Red Dead Redemption, he has finally avenged his father, but his journey is only beginning. As Jack comes of age, the world is changing rapidly. The Wild West is disappearing, replaced by industrialization, automobiles, modern weapons, and the outbreak of World War I. If Rockstar made Jack the main protagonist, it's possible he could be drafted into the military or even volunteer for the war effort, trading horses for trenches and revolvers for rifles. While that sounds interesting, it also creates a major problem. At that point, would it still feel like a Red Dead Redemption game? The series has always been about the dying days of the American frontier. Turning it into a full-scale war story could lose the identity that made Red Dead so special. A better approach might be following Jack as he struggles to build a normal life after the events of the first game, only to be dragged back into violence by organized crime, corrupt law enforcement, or the last surviving outlaw gangs trying to adapt to the modern era. It could be a compelling story, but personally, I don't think this is what most fans want. Unless Rockstar finds a clever way to preserve the Western atmosphere while moving into the 20th century, Jack's story might work better as a spin-off rather than the next mainline entry. Next, let's talk about one of the craziest theories, Isaac Morgan. Arthur Morgan tells us that his son, Isaac, was killed. But here's something interesting. Arthur never actually saw Isaac or his mother's bodies. He only found their graves, so what if they weren't really dead? What if Isaac's mother staged their deaths and disappeared to protect her son from Arthur's dangerous outlaw lifestyle? It sounds unbelievable, but Rockstar has surprised us before. Isaac was around 10 years old when he supposedly died. If he actually survived, he would be a young adult during the events of the first Red Dead Redemption, giving Rockstar an entirely new protagonist while still keeping a strong connection to Arthur Morgan. The possibilities are endless. Maybe Isaac follows in Arthur's footsteps and becomes an outlaw. Maybe he works for the government just like John Marston was forced to. Or perhaps he spends his life trying to escape the legacy left behind by his father. Unlike Jack, Isaac's story has almost unlimited creative freedom because we know virtually nothing about what happened to him. And honestly, that mystery alone makes him one of the most interesting possibilities. Now let's go even further back before Arthur Morgan joined the gang. Imagine a prequel set in the 1870s showing how Dutch and Hosea first met, how they built the Van der Linde gang, and eventually took in a young Arthur Morgan. This is something fans have wanted for years. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Instead of playing as just one character, imagine switching between Dutch and Hosea, similar to how Grand Theft Auto V handled multiple protagonists. As Dutch, you'd experience his incredible charisma, bold leadership, and ambitious dreams of freedom while pulling off daring robberies and recruiting new members. Then you'd switch to Hosea, whose calm and practical personality constantly balances Dutch's growing ambition. You'd witness the cracks forming long before the events of Red Dead Redemption 2, watching Dutch slowly transform from an idealistic leader into the man we eventually know. The biggest challenge is that we already know how this story ends. The gang falls apart. Arthur dies. John dies. Dutch loses everything. Because of that, Rockstar would need to introduce brand new characters, unexpected betrayals, and completely fresh conflicts to keep players guessing. Even so, exploring those early years could easily become one of the most emotional stories in the franchise. Finally, we have Sadie Adler. Out of every surviving character from Red Dead Redemption 2, Sadie probably has the most unfinished story. She didn't settle down. She didn't retire. Instead, she left for South America to begin a completely new life. Let's be honest. Does Sadie really sound like someone who would stop chasing danger? Not a chance. A sequel could follow her working as a bounty hunter across dangerous frontiers, caught between corrupt armies, ruthless warlords, and violent revolutionary groups. Imagine exploring dense jungles instead of deserts, hunting criminals through mountains and forgotten villages while using guerrilla tactics to survive. Sadie's determination, grief, and relentless drive could create one of the darkest stories Rockstar has ever told. It would also allow Rockstar to move beyond the traditional American West while still keeping the brutal survival and outlaw spirit that defines Red Dead. Personally, I think Sadie has the strongest chance of carrying an entirely new story without feeling forced. But those are just my thoughts. If Rockstar announced Red Dead Redemption 3 tomorrow, which direction would you want them to take? Would you choose Jack Marston, Isaac Morgan, a Dutch and Hosea prequel, or Sadie Adler? Let me know your choice down in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more Red Dead Redemption content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.